Okay, so I've turned the recording back on at this point. Hopefully you filled out the survey. You don't need to add up any scores or do anything like that at this point in time. What I'd like you to do, if you can, is I make my course up in a way that there are basically modules. So if you go to the module page, and everything I say is both for the face-to-face class, but for the people taking this online at the same time. If you can't do this, everything I say acoustically, I'm going to make YouTubes for both the face-to-face and online, so you'll have access to this information. But I'm going to pull up the agenda for week 1. And under that, I'm going to ask that you take out your notebooks, or if you have a computer, you're going to write some notes down from this situation, and then I'll go into the syllabus a little bit later in the class. Is that clock actually on time? Oh, it is. So, if you pull up this particular thing, the first question posted here is, we just did something here. Would you actually call what we did a scientific study? And it will be very important here to write good notes down. I'll go into that when I go into the assignments. The big news is, and I think I said this in my other class as well, there will be no tests in this class. You will be writing up detailed outlines, basically. You'll be writing up a lab proposal, and you'll be writing up kind of just this one lab at the start of the semester. You'll be basically doing that, a method and results section. So you'll want to write down information that we talk about. And the first question, would you call this a scientific study? Would you actually say what we just did here was scientific? Brittany, would you call this, what we did here, scientific? Why would you say yes to that question?
Because you're gathering empirical evidence and data.
So we were gathering data. We were gathering data in this particular situation. Was there anything else that made this that you would tend to answer? And you can answer either way. Brooke, what would be your sentiment about this situation? Would you call this a scientific research study?
Yes.
Why would you call this a scientific research study?
So, at the beginning, we rated ourselves and took our pulse, and that was before, and then we all had the same conditions for whenever we...
What you did, so there was an intervention.
Yes.
And then what happened after the intervention?
We then recorded how we felt afterwards.
So it kind of followed a scientific way. Can we even make any other comments about, so you would be correct with that, anything else that you would people agree that this was a scientific study? Was there anything else? Who was the experimenter, technically here? It would be me. Was there anything else I attempted to do to make this, if I am indeed the experimenter? You're going to turn into the experimenter because you're going to do a write-up on this. But was there anything that I attempted to do to make this more science as opposed to a demonstration? In the last class that a few of you were in, we did a demonstration at the beginning of the class. Is there anything else that I did? Maybe I can ask Brandy the question. Was there anything else that I did as the experimenter to try to really make this? We talked about what was going on, the survey before and the pulse, the intervention and after. Was there anything else I attempted to do as the experimenter to make this a scientific study?
I was going to say the pulse thing.
Say again?
I was going to say the pulse thing, because we didn't do that in the other demonstration. But also, like, the whole kind of quieting the room and everything as well kind of helped as well.
The standardization. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I don't know. Wait, what was your question again?
Was this a scientific research study?
Yeah. I was also going to say, could you put a number on it?
So I gave you subject numbers, and the most important element, and Brandy and Tiana, you guys were getting at this, was the idea that the protocol was standardized. We had a standardized protocol. fill this out. Do this now. Now we all listen to the same thing. Fill this out. We tried to keep the room at the same lighting, no distractions. Hopefully for the people at home, the same type of idea going on. So if you're really going to run a scientific experiment, the method really has to be kind of the same for all the participants. Would you argue that everything was pretty much the same for all of you here in the face-to-face? Yeah, and hopefully for the people at home, you guys did kind of the same thing. Obviously, we couldn't control the environment as much, but it wasn't a completely dark room for you, and we collected this. So this was indeed a scientific type of study. So hopefully you wrote some information about this. Yeah, we did the study. Was the scientific